From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 174. Today's show is brought to you by Hover, Squarespace, and Pingdom. We have a very special episode for you all today. Happy New Year. It is our year in review. We're going to look back at 2017 now that we're in 2018, and we're gonna think about it. We're going to talk about it. Felice Anno Nuovo, Federico.
That's grazie, Mike. That's pretty good, actually. You've been practicing Italian behind the scenes.
I've just been listening to Google Translate in my ear whilst I was doing the intro, so I've got new skills. Happy New Year, Stephen.
Hey, buddy. Happy New Year.
How you doing?
Good.
We actually do have follow-up, believe it or not, but it is the longest form of follow-up that we have maybe ever participated in.
So each year we make predictions about the year, and we're going to follow up on our predictions for 2017, which we made 12 months ago. It's really the follow-up of the year, literally of the year. So we have a couple of rounds of predictions here, and I thought that I'll just share the predictions that we made, and then we can talk about maybe how they went. So up first we have Federico, because we in our style round robined these predictions. Rounded robin? I like rounded robin.
Rounded robin.
We-
Rounded robin. Rounded robin done.
We went right around the robin. And Federico, you said Siri on iOS will gain more verbal responses, speak more than it does now when activated with your voice. It can hold longer conversations without the user needing to look at the screen.
Yeah, maybe, kinda. Not too much. Not to the extent that I was hoping for. I think we've seen at least the intention of having some kind of non-screen Siri with the HomePod, but that of course was delayed. So I would give myself 40%. Correct.
Let's go with a half point. Let's go with
half
a
point.
Yeah.
Okay, half point. We've seen some improvements with the voice activation on iOS, and we will get the audio only Siri with the HomePod, but it's not here yet.
I'll give you a kinda. I think kinda's where we come down on that. So I was up next, and I said I got the names wrong. I said the iPhone 7S and 7S Plus will look like the 7 and 7 Plus, not this unicorn edge-to-edge phone that's been rumored. So I would say, other than the naming, I got that right. So kinda. Do I get a point deducted for the name? Maybe.
No, see, I think there's a bunch of things. I think yes, you're going to get the point, but I wonder what Stephen of January 2017 was thinking. Was Stephen of January 2017 thinking there would be no iPhone 10? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know.
Were you just the only phones? I mean, that's what I'm not sure of. But you do. I mean, I think that's worth a point. What you're saying is basically what happened. The names were slightly different.
Also, are we keeping points? Because I haven't written anything down yet.
I am keeping points. I'm doing it right now.
You're always scoring things, aren't you? Just throughout the day, throughout your life. Yeah.
Everyone's got a score with me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mike, we come to you next. 2017 will see a more powerful iMac at the top of the line that rivals and replaces the Mac Pro. The Mac Pro will go away. The Mac Mini also goes away. By the end of 2017, only the iMac remains.
I have a couple of things I want to address on this prediction.
Okay.
One, I was too greedy. I tried to do too many things.
Way too many things.
Two,
Yes.
way too many things. I would say, right, if you discount the Mac Mini part from this, in January of 2017, I was correct, because that was clearly what Apple was going to do.
It was a safe bet then. Yeah.
Because they had no plan for a Mac Pro. So, I don't know. I feel like I would give myself half, because I did at least get the iMac part right.
I would
but
say,
I'm going to leave it to you two.
I would say, so I think you make three predictions here. A more powerful iMac, no Mac Pro, no Mac Mini. If you count them as three mini predictions, I think you get a third of a point.
You're really screwing up the point system here. We need to just decide 0, half, or 1. We can't start doing fractions.
This is half a point.
That is half a point.
Okay.
And I mean, by the end of 2017, only the more powerful iMac remains, it is not totally wrong.
But they didn't go away. You can still buy a Mac Mini. You shouldn't because it's super sad.
Sure, you can also buy the Mac Pro, but the new one isn't out
You
yet.
shouldn't do that either. So half point.
You shouldn't buy. It's a half point,
It's a half
Mike.
point.
Yeah.
There's a sub point here, and I don't know. We broke the robin. I said also had end of life for the Mac Mini, so that's not correct, but it does feel that way.
That wasn't even a real prediction.
Yeah.
You were just lumping on.
Yeah, so we'll just discard that. So round 2, iCloud. So I said this: iCloud free 5 GB limit will be increased.
Nope.
That's 0 points. Oh well. Moving on.
I got very excited for the next prediction.
Yeah,
I really.
this is
went
another
wild.
one where the lesson of today is your predictions should be simple.
Yeah.
I would say before you read this, I knew at the time that this prediction was unlikely, but I was going with like, if I was right,
This is bold.
it was going to be a great one. But
So
clearly wasn't.
next time we make predictions, we should have predictions where we risk it. And you can get double points.
Oh, that's
because
good.
it's a bold one. But
Well,
if you
we like
lose,
that.
you lose one. You get -1.
That is a very, very good rule that we will institute for the next predictions.
Okay,
Somebody needs to
perfect.
write that down, but that is a great
That's
rule.
next week,
Like,
right? We're gonna do it next week.
Yeah, we're going to do it next week.
perfect. Just write it down because we have short memory.
All right. So if you're standing up listening to this podcast, you should sit down for this one. An iPhone Pro with Apple Pencil support. 2 Apple Pencils, the standard and a new short one that supports the iPhone and iPad mini.
I mean, the idea is amazing, but
I still think one day it will happen, but it was not in 2017.
No. No. It wasn't.
Uh-oh.
I do see, though, if they're going to make one for the phone, like I see where you're going with this, right? If they make one with the phone,
makes sense.
the pencil
Yeah.
should not be longer than the phone is tall.
can't be.
Like,
Yeah, and if they make an iPad Mini Pro, which it doesn't look like you're going to, but we
No.
weren't sure at that point, it still wouldn't work because, like, the pencil I think is taller than the iPad Mini.
so I have my iPhone 10 in one hand and my Apple Pencil in the other, and it feels like I'm writing with like a giant like tool.
Well, you know, you
not-
get those
not an
like
actual
novelty
pencil.
jumbo pencils.
Exactly.
It's like one of those.
That's how it feels. All right, so to finish up round 2, Federico predicted Apple Music will be redesigned again and gain more Spotify-like algorithmic. That's a word I can't say, and it's in here.
Algorithmic.
Machine learning features. We'll call it that. An Apple version of the Daily Mix and a way to discover back catalog songs from artists you don't know. Parentheses, discover weekly? Question mark.
So we didn't get the. So let's go over what they did. We didn't get the redesign. We got the new chill mix in the For You page, and we got the ability to ask Siri to play something I like, and the social features, but I didn't mention those at all. So I would say this is not a point because. I don't think it is because redesign, no, gain more Spotify. The only algorithmic feature could be the daily mix. I'm not sure that's worth half a point though.
Mike, I will leave it to you. I don't think it is.
Yeah. No, I think that what we actually got was vastly more simple than what Federico was predicting.
Yeah. So no point.
All right, the final round. Mike learned his lesson from the previous 2 rounds and went something simpler and more open-ended, which is another smart way to do a prediction. Some element of an AR-focused device from Apple.
I think that's straight up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the
Some
iPhone
element,
10 is AR focused, and we got AR kit. Like, yeah, we got that.
Federico wanted to see heads roll, an executive shakeup in the macOS or iOS software teams.
Why though? Was I upset for some reason?
Everyone was upset in 2016.
Yeah, you can see the negativity here. Well, why? I mean, okay, that's obviously no point, and also I was wrong. In fact, I'm pretty sure that even more teams are now under Craig Federighi. So
Yeah.
No.
I mean, really the only change we saw, and it wasn't an executive shake, but we saw Siri move from Eddie
Yeah,
Q
exactly. Yeah.
to Craig's organization. So that's not an executive shakeup. It's just a change. So I don't think there's any points there.
Yeah. No points.
And rounding us out, I said, and it seemed bananas at the time, a redesigned Mac Pro.
That's half a point.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think it is.
I mean, we didn't see anything, but we knew it was coming, right? So I guess that would count.
I think it's a half. I'll go with half.
All right. So now this is where the points are, because we have some extras that no points are awarded. And Stephen,
Right.
that puts me and you at tie of 1.5 points each.
Okay. What would Federico have?
Half a point. Sorry, Federico.
I better win next year.
One half of a point.
Gonna try harder. Gonna try harder.
Yeah.
With the new rules the next time we do these predictions. But okay,
Yeah.
let's do the extras. Let's see.
Okay, so these we said no points will be awarded.
It's just bragging rights.
But we're just talking. Mike said a 10.9-inch bezel-less iPad Pro.
It's like kinda, right? We
half a
thought it was
point.
going to be 10.9, it ended up being 10.5, and it has less bezels,
And it's not-
no bezels.
Yeah, it's not no bezel, less bezel. Federico hung his hat on iOS 10.3
Oh, those days.
with a redesigned split screen revealing the home screen and the app switcher instead of the vertical slider we have now.
It was not 10.3, and it was
Nope.
not the split screen
Yeah.
showing you the home screen. So something changed with the app switcher, of course, and the multitasking, but not that kind of
Nope.
because this is basically what I had in mind for the concept.
Yep.
Also, so this is not what we
Yeah.
got. Yeah.
I came up next with another iPad prediction. All four of these are iPad predictions, actually, now that I look at this. Multi-user support on iPad for the masses.
No.
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
That's
No
still in
sign.
education, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah.
And you can do it like if you basically treat your house as a school and like run Mac OS server and do a bunch of crazy stuff, but that no one should do. Federico finished us off. New iPad accessories, keyboard plus protection plus pencil holder.
Basically, almost right. We didn't get the keyboard, but
Yeah.
we got the sleeves and we got the pencil holder.
Yeah.
So 75% right.
Yeah. So 3/4 of an imaginary point.
Yeah.
So that's our predictions for 2017. Clearly, we didn't do great. It's always, it's after the new year. You're feeling good. You want good things to happen. And I think we all got a little excited. Mike got the most excited.
I'm going to say, considering how out there I got, the fact that I was 50% correct, I'm feeling all right about that. Right? I got 1.5 points out of 3 points, and I predicted that Apple would only have one computer at the end of the year. So I think all in all, I did a pretty good job. But today we are going to talk about month by month, the big news, the things that we were excited to review and take a look at how they've changed over the last year. We will begin with January. And of every story that I came across, the one that surprised me the most, as I can't believe that happened this year, was in January, App.net shut down. That was when it shut down.
What?
Yeah.
Because
Are you sure?
Yeah, because it had been running in that maintenance mode, right, for a long time, and
That's
App.net
long
was,
maintenance mode.
the service was shut down in January, and this was why Micro.blog then appeared on Kickstarter, which is something we spoke about for a bunch. Jimmy Iovine says that Apple Music is becoming more than music alone. This is where we start to get the first hints of original content from Apple.
It's becoming Apple More. It's in your name. Apple More. It's a lot more
okay.
stuff.
Is that a prediction, or were you putting that in
No.
Okay.
Don't do that to me. I got to think about that.
Also in January, Chris Lantner appeared on ATP the day after he left Apple to go to Tesla, or it was just around the same time. Chris will pop up later on in the show because that wasn't all he did this year. But he leaves Apple, he leaves the Swift team, goes over to Tesla to work on their self-driving stuff.
I will say, that was a really fascinating interview on ATP, and it was nerdy as you would expect, but it really was great, and I'm still so thrilled for those guys that they landed that.
They did a great job. Rumors began in January that Apple were going to replace Touch ID. We were talking about it for like 9 months. Can you believe that? Wow. Apple versus Consumer Reports on MacBook Pro battery tests. What was this? I don't remember this.
It feels like forever ago that basically Consumer Reports was saying that the batteries in the new MacBook Pros were not lasting long enough, and then it turns out that Consumer Reports was doing something non-ordinary with their testing procedures. Like Stephen, what would they do? Like they were loading Safari in some weird way.
They had it set where like I think it like wasn't saving cookies and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Making it work harder than it needed to, and like Phil Schiller like tweeted an iMore link. It was crazy, really crazy.
iOS 10.3 launches with standardized
Nothing Federico wanted.
standardized app review prompts and the ability for developers to reply to reviews. I feel like, so I see the standardized app review prompts every now and then. I rate more apps now since then.
I do too.
Because it's just an easy way to do it. It's right there. It's in the app. And I've found that on the whole, like a lot of developers have found really good places to put it. Like you've completed an action and it pops up with a review.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the developers being able to reply to reviews, I think when it was announced, it seemed like it was like everyone was really excited about it. It was going to be a great thing, and I feel like I've never heard anything about it ever again. Nor do I ever really feel like I see them. But I don't read the reviews.
I see
often.
some of them.
Okay.
I see. I would say 70% of the time when I'm looking for like a new app that I don't know, and the app has been around for a while. Like, for example, I was looking at Lear, the RSS reader, and it turns out it's been around for several months, and I often when I scroll, because you need to scroll horizontally on iOS 11 on the App Store, and I see, I know it's totally terrible, and I see developer responses. Now, do I find them useful? Not really. It feels like I'm reading an email between two people, and that's just like one person is really upset, and the developer responds, "We're sorry you're having issues." Like, okay, this is like you're just complaining in public.
You have been assigned ticket number 4623.
So I don't think they're really useful. It feels like when people get upset with each other and they post screenshots of emails on Twitter, some folks like to do that, and I don't really like it. So I don't think they're really useful.
I do. So there's one app I use, and I won't app shame them here, but they throw up the old. Like what was like the open source project to like put review stuff in your app, and like if you hit no, it basically had an email form, so like you wouldn't leave. So there's an app I use on a regular basis that still does that, and every time now I send them an email and I just say use the new review system.
You should,
and they never email me back.
You should maybe leave a review on the App Store and say, please use this, and maybe they're gonna reply there.
Maybe they'll reply.
or you could just send them a fake like app review rejection and cite the rule change.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
We move into February. In February, Tim Cook started to talk about how amazing AR could be. When he was being asked about VR, he started changing the conversation to AR on one of his many international tours that Tim does. To everybody's surprise, in February, Apple announced that WWDC was moving to San Jose. That was a fun morning for everyone.
That was a shock. I was in my pajamas, just minding my own business.
I was making soup.
I was casually sipping my espresso. It was like noon or 11 a.m. I don't remember. And John texts me on iMessage, and he's like, WWDC just got announced. And my reply, I cannot say what I replied on the show, but I was quite upset. And initially surprised, then upset, then, oh my God, we need to cover this. And then, oh my God, I need to text Mike and we need to make plans.
We were days, like single-digit days away from signing a deal to have another like live relay show in San Francisco.
Oh, no.
And the contract was flexible enough where we could change the date, like within, the month of June, but not so flexible that we could change city. So thankfully,
and also it was so we were like Stephen had asked for the contract. He was like, please send it, and they just hadn't sent it yet. I think the contract, we would have been on the hook for 50% of
Yeah,
it would have been
bad news.
very upsetting. So luckily, it was just at the right time. So we were just very confident we knew the date based upon like Moscone calendars. But the reason it was open was because Apple just wasn't going there. Maybe we should just book Moscone in future. The Twitterific for Mac Kickstarter appeared in February. I think that's gone very well, I think, overall, for the Icon Factory, which is great.
Yeah.
In February, even though we knew the name and some of the basics of the show, we see for the first time the Planet of the Apps trailer in February.
Oh my
so
God.
this is where we
Really?
see the elevator pitch and
an
escalator pitch,
escalator
pitch, and all of that stuff. Also, Carpool Karaoke had its first trailer at the Grammy Awards in February as well. Rumors start to circulate of a 5.8-inch iPhone with Function Row and 3D sensing front camera for facial recognition. I would say on the whole, that was a pretty solid.
The function row, it could. I sometimes wonder if it was like a translation, miscommunication between the supply chain and whoever reports these rumors. Because if you look at it, it's a function bar. It's a horizontal thing that you interact with. So it's kind of a function bar row, and the 3D sensing, of course, we got with the facial recognition. So it's pretty correct, I would say.
Instagram rolls out support for multiple photos in a post. I'm still not very happy with the interaction of that. If you swipe it just wrong, you end up in messages. It's like, no. Maybe that's why they're making that separate messaging app. Who knows? Apple says that Apple Park will be open to employees in April. I think it was open to one employee would be my expectation.
Yeah.
If you don't know, the reason we find this funny, I think everybody that any of us have ever spoken to does not and has not moved in. I don't know if people have now. I think that maybe it's happening more now, but it seemed like April was the first employees, but then there were no more. That was it.
Yeah, I think, we've got friends who have just moved and some that haven't yet. All construction projects are like this. I've taken part of several now, and it all goes really well until it goes terribly wrong, and the end of projects like this just takes a long time because you're dealing with all these little details, and you have Johnny Ive, walking around with calipers measuring the thickness of door handles, and it just takes a while, and I think they're still getting there, but yeah, that's really funny in hindsight that it's, January and there's still people who haven't moved in
They
yet.
had a press release and everything with the photo tour and videos and everything up on apple.com. I wonder what happened. But,
Mozilla acquired Pocket in February.
I remember those
I
companies.
had totally forgotten about this acquisition. Like a few weeks ago, I was doing some research about Pocket, and I saw our own story on the site, and I was like, really, Mozilla acquired Pocket, and John wrote the story. Okay, yeah. I guess it makes sense now. Firefox has native Pocket integration, so which is pretty nice.
I don't use Firefox though, so
me neither. But they're still around, so.
All right, that is February, and we're going to take our first break at this point and thank our friends over at Hover. Building your online identity is so important. And with Hover, you can find the domain that shows the world who you are, what you're passionate about, what your thing is. And hey, look, it's the new year. It is New Year's resolution time. This is the time of year that I'm sure that so many of you are thinking, now is the time to start that incredible project that I've had in my mind. You need a domain name if you want to do that. This is a great time of the year to start something new. It is the right time. And if you want to have a web presence for whatever it is, which you probably should, no matter whatever it is, especially if it's something like a business. I know this is something that we've all considered when starting our businesses. You need good websites for this stuff. And domain names are one of the most important parts. It is the thing that people will remember. It is the way that people will come to you. It is the way that people will interact with what you're doing. And Hover are the best place to buy your domains. They have best-in-class customer support. They have free Whois privacy so bad guys don't get your information. And they can also give you personalized email that matches your domain to further support your online identity. So when you're emailing people get that name, they get that URL, they get that domain right there. They get it right in front of them. They see exactly who it is. If you want to show the world what you're passionate about, Hover is there to help you make that first step. Head to hover.com/connected right now and get 10% off your first purchase. Thank you to Hover for their support of this show. the best news of the year happened in March when the Nintendo Switch was released.
Yes, I agree. This is the best news. We can end the roundup here.
Yep. The year ended for me and Federico. At that point,
Basically.
that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remaster got ruined. It was a show about all types of gaming, and then I think from March onwards, it just became a Nintendo Switch podcast. There's nothing I can do about it. I love my Nintendo Switch so much, and it's the best. It is the best.
Yeah, I checked the other day. I played almost 190 hours of Zelda Breath of the Wild. As Mike said, the Nintendo Switch totally changed what we do a remaster. And even though I bought this year a 4K TV and a PlayStation Pro, and I'm now playing with Horizon on my PS4. I still think about Zelda and the Switch, and we're currently. We take the Switch out to, I bought a carry-on bag. Sylvia's making fun of me every single day she sees this bag. It's like a little suitcase for the Switch, and I have a separate dock and a set of cables, and basically whenever we go visit our parents or some friends, I take the Switch with us. It's like a family member now. It's like our dogs, but it doesn't bark, and it's also fun to play with. And yeah, it's discount, setting aside Apple products, the Switch is the product of 2017 for me, hands down. It's amazing.
And then a product that I don't think anybody remembers. The product red iPhone 7 came out in March. Again, one of those things where I saw it and was like, that was in 2017? Sure. Yeah, there was a new iPhone in March.
Yeah.
It was a
weird,
different
right?
color. Yeah, and it was a red one.
I have a weird story about this iPhone. So I went to the store to see it, and I took a picture of it, just like kind of like a cruddy Instagram photo. And I've never had something on Instagram go viral on Instagram. I didn't know that was really a thing. Because, I don't even know how people found it. Like, there's no hashtags, because I'm not that person. Like, my caption was one word, all it said was shiny. But this thing got, tons of comments and, 3,600 likes on Instagram, which I don't know how, or, if it was embedded in some article somewhere. But it was... It was crazy.
I wonder if it was embedded in an article. That sounds about right.
It's got to be. It's got to be right. But the phone is very red, and I thought really kind of pretty, but then it was, gotten rid of in September and never to be heard from again.
I had a white front, right?
It did, and people were very upset about that.
At the same time as the product red iPhone 7, Clips was announced to be released in April. When it was then released in April, everybody didn't like it. Was most of the... I mean, I know there are some people that did. I'm being facetious, but I think the overall thing was it was a weird app. I will say that Clips has gotten way better as the year went on, and I think that it is actually now a really solid, fun little application for making videos that I think maybe underwhelmed a little bit when it came out in April.
I think initially many of us had the reaction that this is another side project like music memos or cards or all those apps that Apple did before, and this one seems to be the one that has been able to stick around, get updates, big 2.0 version later. So I wonder if this is sort of a playground for Apple and their camera team and their photos team.
Yeah, I think it is, because the difference between this and something like music memos is there probably will be new stuff it can do every year because the camera is such an important part of the operating system. So, I expect it to be able to continue to do new things in a way that some of these other side project-y apps haven't been able to.
Yeah.
We spent a bunch of time, we devoted basically an entire episode talking about workflow in April, talking about our favorite workflows, and then Steven was asking me and Federico a bunch of questions, including what would you do if they went away? I think either 2 weeks later, Apple bought Workflow. Me and Federico were terrified. The rest of the year has kind of proved that Workflow is in safe hands right now. But obviously we still don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, we're not getting the same update pace that the app used to have when it was independent. But it was clear. I mean, it's clear now that all those big updates that we got at the end of 2016 and early 2017, like magic variables and all those new designs for file actions, those were updates meant to sort of leave the app in a good state before the acquisition. And in fact, the workflow got a bunch of updates throughout 2017, and it was also updated for iOS 11, but not with groundbreaking stuff. Like they were not updates to the extent of magic variables or web APIs, for example. So Apple is maintaining workflow. They're ensuring that it works well on iOS 11, on the iPhone 10, that it supports some form of drag and drop, but the idea, at least my feeling, is they're working on workflow 2, whatever, and whether that's a system feature or still a separate application on iOS, I don't know. But I get the feeling that they're maintaining the current version while they're working on whatever's coming next.
And at a time when we were clamoring for new iPad Pros, Apple released a $329 iPad, 9.7-inch, just called the iPad. I remember at the time just being so concerned because, especially the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was really old at that point. It was concerning. It was like 18 months old. There was no new software, right? Nothing had happened. We didn't get the 10.3 we wanted. And then the iPad came out, and it was like, that was all it was. It was a concerning time to be an iPad fan. We move on to April. In April, it was a less concerning time to be a Mac fan because Apple brought a bunch of journalists to some weird Mac design lab somewhere and did they sat them all around a table which was circular. So they were able to call it the round table, and they spoke about the iMac Pro, which was going to be released this year, and a completely rethought modular Mac Pro, which we don't have any more details about, but we knew that it was coming. This was Apple's recommitment to the Mac and to professional Mac users. They owned up to the fact that they totally screwed up the Mac Pro.
Yeah, it was an apology meeting saying we're gonna make the Macs you want. You're just gonna have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember waking up that morning and, kind of opening Tweetbot on my phone because it broke pretty early, and people just freaking out that, Apple had addressed this at all, let alone like in a hands-on meeting in some sort of secret Mac lab. I think in Panzerino's article, he mentions that there's like a 20th anniversary Mac, like on a bookcase, like in the room or like in the lobby or something. Like this crazy inside Apple view that we just don't see. And, so far they are on track to deliver what they promised. We have the iMac Pro now, and in that press release announcing the sale of the iMac Pro, they reiterate there is a modular, upgradable Mac Pro coming later. And so we're in chapter 1 of the story. Chapter 2 is pending. We're not going to make predictions today, but my guess is we'll see something at WWDC and then release at the end of the year. So it is, if you're a pro Mac user and you were concerned about hardware, hopefully those concerns are put at ease now.
Snapchat releases the first of their AR lenses. So it was like a rainbow and stuff. And this has been a thing, which it was really cool at the time. Snapchat to date is still using their own technology for all of their lenses and stuff. But that's been a popular thing. Remember the hot dog? Remember the hot dog? That was one of those. Dancing hot dog. No, you wouldn't. It's okay. The Internet Archive's classic Mac OS emulation. I don't know what this means.
Yes.
You just put it in there.
Steven
you
knows.
threw in a word soup for me to read. What does that even mean?
No. So you can go to this. The most important thing you need to know is you can play Oregon Trail from MECC, which is like the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, I think. This company that used to make educational games. And you can play like Oregon Trail, like on an old Mac in your browser, because the Internet Archive is made of magic.
Wouldn't you want to, Mike?
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait to do
Why
it.
would you play with your Nintendo Switch?
I know. Let me
Instead?
go play.
Oregon Trail was so good.
Never played it.
I'll put a link to Oregon Trail directly into the show notes. People can go play it.
Also in April, Apple confirmed worldwide Apple Store redesigns. They first used the Town Hall name and introduced the Today at Apple program. This is where we got the Genius Grove, and I mean, some stores had started to open. Some stores have been open for quite a while, but this is where Apple really kind of doubles down on the idea. The Today at Apple program really kind of started to take shape, and they moved ahead from this point. But this is like, we're redesigning stores, we're opening more stores, and they're all going to have this design aesthetic. This is where they, I think, finally come to the conclusion of the changes that they've been trialing in some of the bigger stores. They then started to push it out to the world.
Just remembering this, a wave of inspiration is washing over me. Pretty much like when I read about Dropbox, it's Dropbox, the design inspiration, and the Apple Town Halls, and the Genius Grove, and beautiful trees. Yeah, this is one of my favorite changes of the year. For sure.
You're creative. In May, we're into May now. Apple made a weird announcement, or kind of a little bit, about affiliate program changes, where they were going to cut them from 7% down to 2.5%. Then they kind of backtracked it a little bit to clarify that it only applied to in-app purchases. It was a very strange thing. It seemed like maybe something got sent out that shouldn't have been sent out, and they tried to do their best to walk it back.
Yeah.
It was very peculiar. Very peculiar indeed. We also got a couple of new Echo products in May, the Echo Look and the Echo Show. So the Echo Look is like the fashion camera thing, and then the Echo Show is the weird TV guy that sits on your kitchen counter. I would say the Echo Look is mostly forgotten about at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
The Google I.O. was also in May. A bunch of stuff was announced, mostly Android-focused stuff, but something that happened in the Apple world was Google Assistant comes to iOS. I was actually racking my brain about this a little bit, and I couldn't remember a lot of what actually happened at Google I.O.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot either. We got Android O.
Yeah, they showed a bunch of O stuff. I think this is the first time that they showed Google Lens. But I keep thinking it was Allo, but Allo was the year before.
Allo was the year before.
Yeah, I mean, this year's Google I.O. was mostly like, it felt to me, like enhancements on the stuff that they had been doing previously, as opposed to any huge debuts.
Yeah, well, and their exciting consumer stuff came in their fall Pixel 2 event anyway. So it's kind of, for me, it's kind of hard to separate the two. And that's just because, it's just because we don't pay as close attention to them as we do, like WWDC versus the iPhone event. But I think they are using a similar pattern. Like, I.O. is going to probably be more developer focused, and then they're going to announce the consumer stuff in the fall. That works really well for Apple and other companies. I think Google's going to fall into that rhythm as well.
Yeah, they had a bunch of stuff about Daydream, Android TV. Like, there are updates across the line, but it wasn't anything like super mega exciting. This one.
Yeah.
Federico Viticci debuted his iOS 11 concept video to the world at this time in May.
That was in May.
Yeah, you left it late.
May.
You're not leaving any time for Apple to implement the features that you request.
Every single time I publish these concepts, people say, why didn't you do this in October or November so Apple can go through your list? And we talked about this when I did the concept. But it went well. It went really well, considering that I was late and that we had a bunch of problems trying to release the video in time. I was actually not just late in general, but I was planning on posting on a Wednesday. It ended up being Friday. Definitely gonna make some changes next year if we do this again. But I was happy with the way that the video turned out and the features that I picked, and I thought it was funny when a bunch of Apple engineers stopped me in San Jose and they started asking questions about the video, and they were like, "How did you know that? Did you hear something from someone?" I was like, "I don't know. Did you like the video?" and I was happy with the result. So we'll see if it happens again this year. I don't know. I gotta think of some wishes and ideas. So
I have an idea. What if there was a section of the OS that you could put things temporarily what would you call that?
I feel like some kind of nook,
like a
or
like
a cupboard.
like a.
Yeah, that was a good idea,
knapsack.
actually.
It's not a good name though.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a concept that you could definitely expand a little bit.
I could play around with that. Yeah,
good
for
grab
sure.
bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
No, the video, as always, is great. The animation is great. It's done 500,000 views, which is awesome. So I always look forward to seeing these. I like it when you show us little pieces that you're working on throughout the process because it's just so well done.
Instagram copies Snapchat's face filters, continuing to push towards doing their best to kill Snapchat. And I think they're succeeding. I think 2017 showed a lot of trouble for Snapchat, and this is mostly in part, I would expect, due to Instagram stories and all the stuff that they've been doing. Shazam, the Apple-owned company, launches a complete redesign of their application as well in May. All right, let me take our second break for this week's episode and thank our second sponsor, our friends over at Casper, the company focused on sleep that are dedicated to making you exceptionally comfortable one night at a time. Look, you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. If you spent 1/3 of your life doing anything, you'd want to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be, right? That is why you need Casper. Their mattresses are perfectly designed for humans with engineering to soothe and support your natural geometry. Casper mattresses have got all the right support in all the right places. So what goes into making a Casper mattress so darn comfortable? Well, they combine multiple supportive memory foams to give you a quality mattress that has just the right sink and just the right bounce. Their mattresses are designed and developed in the US, and their breathable design helps to regulate your body temperature throughout the night. You're not going to have to be like throwing the duvet off, pulling it back on, throwing it off, sticking a leg out, none of that, because the mattress is going to keep you nice and cool all night where you need it. Fantastic. With over 20,000 reviews and an average rating of 4.8 stars, Casper is very quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. I bet one of those reasons is because of their 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial. It makes it so easy to give Casper a try in your own home. They will deliver the mattress directly to your door. And if for any reason you don't love it, Casper has a hassle-free return policy. You get to sleep on it for 100 nights, and they'll take it back. But trust me, I reckon you're going to want to keep this thing. Now is the time, right? New year, new time. You want to change that mattress. You want to get a nice new sleep for 2018 and onwards. Now's the time to get a Casper mattress. They're going to deliver it to that box. You open that box up. Let me tell you, that is crazy. You get this little box, you open it up, and there's a mattress inside. Imagine that. Put it on the bed, you open it up, it breathes to life, and you're ready for nice, comfortable night's sleep. Super great stuff. Start sleeping ahead of the curve with Casper. You can get $50 towards any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/connected and using connected at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. You want to get one of these so you can start sleeping better. These mattresses are super comfortable. You're going to love it. That is casper.com/connected and offer code connected to get that $50 towards any mattress purchase. Our thanks to Casper for their support of this show. We move into June, huge month in June, so I'm going to rattle through this stuff, all right? So we had WWDC. WWDC gave us iOS 11 with the first news of the 32-bit app cutoff that was going to hit in September. We got new iPad Pros, the 10.5-inch and the 12.9. We got macOS High Sierra, with which kind of had the promise of a Snow Leopard type fix, which, yep. The HomePod was announced to be shipping at the end of the year. That also didn't happen. The Planet of the Apps season premiere happened during WWDC for a selection of very excited developers. The iMac Pro was previewed. We got WatchOS 4, ARKit, and the first mention of Prime Video coming to the Apple TV.
That only took 6 months.
It was big. I'll say it was big. This was a great WWDC.
It was a great WWDC. It was a great iOS 11 segment of the keynote. I was smiling the entire time, of course.
Yep.
And
you were.
And I had a really good time at the keynote. At the conference in general, I went to a bunch of sessions, and of course we hang out. So that was cool. Always a good time of the year. And also we got the iPad. So I got the iPad. I brought it to my hotel room, and I was writing in the other room while you guys were having fun. And chatting and talking and laughing. I was writing and listening to Brain FM. So yeah, that was not fun, but also was pretty great.
It's
Actually,
because you're a pro blogger. You can't
I'm a
stop.
pro blogger. Yeah, I
Pro
guess.
blogger.
Mm.
It really was the first WWDC in several where, unless you're a hardcore Mac Mini enthusiast, everybody got something, right? You iOS kids got something. Us grown-up Mac people got something. People who wanted Apple to have a speaker or, seeing Siri extended. It was very well-rounded. Now, it was very full, and I mean, it was like a full 2-hour keynote, and there was a lot of stuff to process. In fact, when I was looking through this document, looking at everything they introduced at WWDC, like I actually kind of honestly forgot about some of the stuff. It's like, oh, right, everything was here. And it was just a great summer, and I think it set off the rest of 2017 to be, on the whole, a pretty good year for Apple fans. There's some stuff we'll talk about later on, but all in all, June, I think, was a big home run.
Mm-hmm. Scott Forstall returned. He did a great interview at the Computer History Museum to mark the 10th anniversary of the iPhone.
Which we visited. We didn't see this. This was like the week after,
Yes.
or a couple weeks after we were in San Jose. But we went to visit some friends at different tech companies. We do that every summer. And we went to Google this year. And then because I was the only one in the car that could drive, I drug the two of you and Gray to the Computer History Museum and made you walk with me as I explained how rope memory used to work. Mm-hmm. And it was the highlight of the trip. It was very fun.
I like that you said drug, as in like the only way you could have got us there was to actually just drug us in the Google cafeteria. You just dropped a little pill in all of our drinks and then it...
Dragged you?
Yeah. I think it's dragged. I think it's dragged.
Drung. I drung you through the museum.
Drugged us.
You dragged us.
You drugged us, and you threw us in.
I did drang you. It is like being
You
drained.
threw us in the trunk of the car, and then
Yeah,
you
which was
like,
unnecessary because there was so much space in the car.
come on, boys, let's go to the museum.
It was...
Yeah, I picked y'all up. You're like, why do you have a white panel van as the rental car? Well, you'll find out later.
Sir, can you pop the trunk, please? Why do you have 3 bloggers in your trunk?
I'm no blogger. Don't paint that on me.
You kind of are. You have a website,
Yeah.
Mike. You
Yeah, I guess I do.
sometimes share opinions in written form.
No, it was 2 vloggers and then
2
you fed her.
vloggers
Yeah.
and a blogger.
Couple of
Yeah.
vloggers
Yeah.
and a blogger.
How do you call a group of vloggers and bloggers together?
For blogger.
Loggers? Loggers?
Yeah, it's just loggers. A couple of loggers. My Chill Mix launches on Apple Music as well. So hooray for that. Where everybody got more chill. Everyone got more chill in June. July brought with it the iOS 11 blue bar location furor that occurred during the betas, where there was a blue bar at the top of the iPhone constantly whenever location was being shared. Everybody was under the belief that this was a way for Apple to try and shame companies. I think those companies got super mad, and Apple changed their course on that.
Yeah.
The Rock debuted a movie with Apple about Siri, which was fantastic. I enjoyed that so much. That was great. Stephen Hackett had his most successful blog post in history when he posted some
true,
5K
actually.
wallpapers, which are amazing.
It is. I'm actually trying to log in to WordPress. I believe that it is the single most viewed page on my website of all time after a decade.
Really?
So there's that. People really like their wallpapers. What can you say?
Coming in 2018, 512wallpapers.com. That's Stephen's rebranding. Apple launches as well their public machine learning journal, so a place for them to publish research about the machine learning that they're doing. I'm expecting, just all the great autocorrect learnings to go there. It's going to be great. I can't wait to correct things more automatically. So
This is a more interesting story than it appears, because Apple, of course, is very private, and they've taken some heat because, like, the machine learning and artificial intelligence community, there's a big push on publishing what you're working on so other people can see it, and it's kind of how you sort of build your resume in public, both as individual scientists or engineers or developers, but as well as a company. And so, they've had 8 posts since then. Issues. They're on volume 1, issue 8. I don't know when they go to volume 2. Is that 2018 maybe? I don't know.
The volume 2 is when the machine learning starts writing the posts.
You don't want to read the volume 2. Trust me.
Yeah. There'll be nobody around
this
when
is-
volume 2 is published.
If you see a volume 2, it's too late.
But this is giving Apple a place for their employees to publish some stuff, and their names aren't necessarily on it, I don't think, but it's a step in the right direction. And I've read all of these issues.
Really?
I don't understand them. Like, I tried to read them thinking I want to know more. I want to see what they're doing, but it's very difficult because I'm not in this field. But I do think it's more interesting than Apple made a blog but called it a journal because they're pretentious.
Every time I try to read these posts, and it ends up with me just scrolling through until I find the paragraph in plain English that I understand. So I basically read the opening and the conclusion, and everything in the middle
That's
with
fair.
weird mathematical signs and the equations and the graphics. I just skim over because I don't understand.
I just like that emoji makes it into one of them. That's fun. That's fun for me. I get to look at the pretty pictures. In August, the iPod Nano and iPod Shuffle were removed from sale. Womp, womp, womp. They're gone. Dead.
Yeah. I made a video about it. You should go watch because it's like I did it. Like I speak monotone. I have very sad music
Very
in the
sad.
background, and there's a lot of shots of like iPads fading out of view and stuff. It came out nice.
But in better news, Carpool Karaoke launched on Apple Music. I remember I was in New York a bunch in August, and they had just huge ads in Times Square for this thing. Didn't do very well, I don't think. I heard nothing about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
At least Planet of the Apps, people were talking about it. Carpool Karaoke, it feels like nobody was talking about it.
This was just, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe, I guess a few people watched it. I saw the episodes in the main page of Apple Music whenever there was a new one. I never bothered to watch it because I feel like this stuff, if an episode is really good, I'm gonna hear about it and I'm gonna watch it on YouTube. But this didn't happen with this series. Like there was no social sharing of people saying, "Oh my God, you need to watch." Like for example, last year, I saw a bunch of people saying you need to watch the episode with Harry Styles and James Corden in Carpool Karaoke. And so I went to YouTube and I found the episode. I didn't see that kind of word of mouth sharing for Carpool Karaoke in Apple Music, which I guess it's a problem because of course it's not the kind of platform that YouTube is. So it'll be interesting to see this year if Apple continues with this video content on Apple Music.
I don't think they will. I think all the video content will be in the TV app. I think they're more serious now. This was all jokes, right? Like this was all just them. Honestly, I don't even know why they were doing it. Really, like I don't know what they were attempting, but they're serious now. Like the money that they're spending, the people that are attached to their projects is serious business. August brought my favorite story of the year, which was the HomePod firmware leak, because it revealed everything. It was, I mean, I understand why people were like, got mad about it because it did spoil, like it spoiled everything, like even like Animoji, right, which really shouldn't have leaked. But the thing was, we all spent like a month where like every day we were finding out some new thing. It was exciting for that period of time. And
It was.
as people that have to try and come up with content every week, it was
It was a
brilliant because
godsend.
August is dead time. Nothing happens in August.
August is the worst.
But we had just like a whole thing. It was great. August was great because of that.
Yeah. So what all? I mean, I'm trying to think through everything we saw in here. We saw the iPhone 10 shape, so the notch was confirmed. We saw
LTE watch was confirmed.
LTE watch.
The way that the Animoji, the low poly version, but still Animoji, and we saw the way that the status bar worked with the split layout and the notch in the ears. We saw, I think we saw the multitasking, how it worked, I'm pretty sure. Or Gurman actually described the multitasking, and then there was the HomePod leak. And we saw the side button with the multiple features for Siri and rebooting the phone or whatever. We saw... what does the iPhone 10 do? Face ID. Face ID. I mean,
we have all the animations, right? Like the setup
and the code name, and the code name for it.
Everything. It was
bonkers. I mean, I remember
unprecedented. It was unprecedented.
I remember watching the September event, and it's like he comes back, he's like, oh, we have one more thing. And Phil Schiller comes out after like a flashy video talking about the iPhone 10 and like just the like sort of the disconnect of like everyone in the audience, everyone watching knows what he's going to say, but Apple still has to deliver the keynote.
They have to
as
go
if
through the
it's
motions.
exciting.
Yeah, like it's just this is how it is. Like they just keep doing it. But yeah, it was very interesting. Our friend Chris Latner's back. He leaves Tesla and joins Google. He joins the Google Brain machine learning team. Clearly, Tesla was not the place for Chris Latner.
You could say there was a swift departure.
Whoa.
Oh, boy. Whoa.
I have waited 4 months for this joke.
I've been sitting on this joke for literally weeks, and now I finally get to deliver. I feel so happy.
Oh man,
right
can you
now.
imagine if I would have just busted that out by accident? I mean, you'd have been so mad.
I would have hated you so much.
You've been testing this joke for several months now.
Yeah, I've been practicing with Sylvia. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Run throughs.
Is he still at Google?
Yeah.
I guess he is,
Yeah,
isn't
he
he?
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were new Apple Maps and App Store icons debuted, and everybody flipped out. But it wasn't important
I
at all.
forgot about this.
They are still bad icons, though.
I don't think they're
They are
bad
so
icons. I don't think they're bad. I think that
The Maps one is fine. It's just their new campus. But the App Store one is
people
still...
were mad about the Maps one though. Like, I don't
Yeah,
even know
the
why.
Maps one is fine. The App Store looks like a popsicle sticks. But
I like it.
It does.
I like it. The Essential phone debuted in August.
I remember that.
Beautiful phone. That came out then, but unfortunately, the Essential phone basically has no future at this point, I think. Ulysses, Federico's favorite text editor, moved to a subscription pricing model. One of the big
everybody was
apps
upset.
that moved. Why was that?
I think Ulysses was one of the last apps, one of the last modern apps with a full suite of Mac and iPhone and iPad that was still using the old paid upfront model, and I guess the idea of a subscription-based text editor was still new months ago. Now, of course, we're seeing a lot of different types of apps using the subscription model, but at the time, Bear, the note-taking app, was the only similar idea. But Ulysses was an app that's been around for a decade at least, and people are really attached to it. And also the fact that this move was a surprise. We had no like these days, I see a lot of developers pre-announcing the fact that they are going to use a subscription model for their next version. And instead, I wonder if maybe the Ulysses team should have planned this announcement in a different way, maybe months before, started to sort of preparing their customers for this change. And it was really unexpected. And I mean, of course, I signed up right away, but it was really unexpected for a lot of people. And also, they were having issues with the discounts that they promised to existing customers. It didn't really work. So a bunch of people got charged more, and that only added to the discomfort of those people with the subscription. I think it should have been handled maybe a little better from a PR perspective, but I think and I hope everything is fine now. I see that the Ulysses folks are continuing to release updates at a faster pace than before, which is good, which is the entire point of moving to a subscription. It allows you to continue to ship features and changes and updates and fixes without having to wait for the big, 4.0, 5.0 releases, big milestone type of releases. Now you can break updates down in smaller chunks and release, every couple of weeks, which is better for everybody. So I hope it's working out now.
So we move into September. In the beginning of September, Apple kills off the iTunes Music Festival after 10 years. It's now gone. They're moving to more local events, different events. Not doing the festival in London anymore. Siri moved under Craig Federighi's organization, which was kind of detailed on Apple's leadership page. And then, of course, we had a bunch of product releases. We had the iPhones 8 and the iPhone 10, the Apple TV 4K, and the Apple Watch Series 3, which had an immediate bug where it was struggling to connect to LTE networks. That was also fixed pretty quickly. But yeah, I think it was a pretty great product release. I mean, I've got the iPhone 10, the Apple TV, and the Apple Watch Series 3, and I'm really happy with all of those products. They all do exactly what I want them to do. And in the case of the iPhone 10, a little bit more as well. Continue to be very, 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 very happy with these products. So,
the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus get overlooked by sort of our circle of people because we all like the 10. But during the holiday season, I mean, I can't tell you how many people, friends and family ask, hey, I'm going to buy a new phone for myself or for somebody else. And a lot of these people were coming from like an iPhone 6 or 6S. And the 8 is a great update over a phone of that age. And I mean, there would have been complaints if that was the only iPhone because it does look, basically the same. But if you don't want the 10, the 8 and 8 Plus are really good choices.
And iOS 11 is obviously released in September, and it came with Federico's masterwork, and I lost my voice. So it was good for everybody all around. September, I think.
Yeah, it was this year. Again, we had some issues on the site. Again, another instance of things that will need to be changed and get better in the future. But it was also different for me because I didn't take the usual break after publishing my review. Because as we will see in October, we all met again. So it was a different review release day and week and month than usual.
Yep.
And I hope to be back on a normal review month in 2018.
Let's thank our final sponsor for this week's episode, and that is Pingdom. You can start monitoring your websites and servers today at pingdom.com/relayfm. You get a 14-day free trial when you sign up there and use the offer code CONNECTED to get 30% off your first invoice. All you need to do is give Pingdom a URL that you want them to monitor, and they take care of everything. They are focused on making the web faster and more reliable for everybody that has a website. They have great, easy-to-use, powerful tools for this. Basically, what happens is, if you're a Pingdom user, they will monitor the availability and performance of your server, database, or website all the time. They use 70 global test servers that emulate visits to your site. They check its availability as often as every minute. And they can monitor every part of your website. It's not just like a binary, is it up or is it down? They look at things like search functionality and login functionality and e-commerce checkouts and stuff like that, contact forms even. All of these dependencies that you have on your site, Pingdom can monitor all of them to make sure that everybody's interaction with your website is a breeze. This is what you want to know about. Stuff breaks on the internet all the time. Pingdom detect 13 million outages a month. You don't want to be one of those. But when you are, Pingdom will help you. They will alert you in any way that you want to know immediately, so you can fix that error before the downtime affects you. You don't want to be caught out with somebody like tweeting at you and saying, hey, your website's down. You don't want that. You need Pingdom. Check it out today. You'll be the first to know when your site is down. Go to pingdom.com/relayfm. You'll get a 14-day free trial, and then use the code CONNECTED at checkout to get 30% off your first invoice. And thanks to Pingdom for their support of this show and Relay FM. All right, October rolls around. The Sonos One is announced, which is a product that I still have my eye on. I'm interested to see how that thing unfolds as time goes on. Just if it does get Google Home, and then seeing how that integrates with the Amazon Echo, and if it does get AirPlay 2 and how that all integrates together, could be a very compelling product. Google had their hardware announcement. The Pixel 2, the Pixel 2 XL, the Google Home Mini and Max, and the Pixel Buds are all announced. At least at the event, on the whole, looked like a really good crop of products, but as we know, the Pixel 2 XL and the Google Home Mini had some significant problems, which had a real long news cycle to them. I felt really bad for Google because things just kept going wrong for them. Wasn't great. Personal news, hashtag. We had a great live show in Chicago at Release Notes, including excellent moments like the iMac G3 clamshell surprise and Federico and the Baker. Some real just key moments of the year there as part of our live show. I also played AR basketball. Bring it up. As they should.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. You were playing with the game on the table as we were talking.
You just got up from the table Can't take you anywhere.
I felt like we needed some energy in the room, so I decided to go play basketball.
That really was a great week. Federico you spoke at Release Notes and just did a killer job. The Panac did a live show at Field Notes, and then we actually kind of helped host a meetup at Field Notes as well, everyone's favorite paper notebook brand. So it was just a really fun time, and I think that we will do more live stuff next year for sure.
And we were also on Do It By Friday, where we challenged each other and challenged ourselves. So that was fun too.
Challenged your stomachs.
Yeah, we most definitely did. The iPhone 10 reviews started dropping. There were some YouTubers, and everyone went mad. So that was a whole big scene. But eventually, iPhone 10 reviews came out via the more traditional channels, and then everybody was happy again.
The further we get away from Apple people just losing their cool that some YouTube kids got their phones before them, the more angry I am about it. I thought I would be less angry, but it's like it's such a bad look on people who are upset about that. Just grow up. It's fine. They can have the phone before you. It's okay.
It was announced that Siri Kit will be on HomePod, and there's just some weird stuff going on. So, like, basically all that HomePod's going to be able to do is a subset and then some of the Siri Kit commands that currently exist, and all of the processing of HomePod commands will occur on an iPhone, which is connected to it, which I think is disappointing, and is just another reason why I'm not interested in the HomePod. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes as time moves into this year. In November, the iPhone 10 actually arrives in our hands, and we rejoice at the wonder of the phone from the future. I think I speak for all of us that we love our iPhone 10s, and they're wonderful in every single way. Our national nightmare is over as Google Docs finally gets drop. Doesn't get dragged so much, but it definitely gets drop. So we're happy about that. Twitter goes to 280 characters, where I'm going to give a hot take. I like it.
Yeah, it's useful.
It is useful, and I don't feel like I'm reading blog posts, right? Like I feel like on the whole, people aren't using 280 characters for every tweet. Most people are still keeping their tweets short, but I find myself a lot of the time being able to explain things and point out what I want to point out way easier in 280.
Yeah, and it's useful when you want to, like, for example, whenever I want to post about like a big story that I've been working on or a review or something like that. Now I don't need to be extra careful counting the characters that I can include in the tweet. And that extra space with combined with the fact that now images don't count against the quota anymore, it's been really great to announce new big feature stories on the site this past few months.
So much easier. So much
thumbs
easier.
Up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really is great. The HomePod has been delayed in November. We will not see it this year. Hashtag Mike was right. And then Animal Crossing launches on iOS. I missed this. Like I was traveling when it came out, and by the time I would have got to play it, everyone was super mad about it, so I just never played it.
I never played it either. It doesn't, from what I've seen, it doesn't feel like the Animal Crossing I know. And considering my taste in video games, putting up with some mobile restrictions with timers and lift tickets and stuff like that, it's just not for me, so I won't even bother.
Then we move into December. So the last month of the year, Apple had a really mega bad week with the Mac root bug and the iOS date bug. That was bad times.
It was a bad week. Yeah.
Apple Pay Cash launches with iOS 11.2. I'm still waiting for that, so I have nothing to say. Steven, do you ever use it?
Besides like sending Jason Snell the same $2 back and forth, I did actually use it because I'm traveling with some friends next year, and I'm splitting a hotel room with somebody, and Apple Pay cashed me their half. And so I have used it for one large thing, and it's really fast. And like you take it, then you go into settings and tell it, hey, I want to deposit this in my bank account. It was there in a couple of days, so it works, but it hasn't taken off yet.
Apple's iMac Pro went on sale. Very expensive. I'm happy I get to play the game again, where you can make it the most expensive computer imaginable. It's like $13,000. I like to do that. I like to play that game. I'm looking forward to playing that game when the Mac Pro comes out, see if we can get it even higher. The Apple Podcast Analytics beta rolled out. This has been interesting. I'm very keen, obviously, to see what this leads to. I think that it confirmed a lot of my own assumptions that I've made, which I was pretty pleased about the way that people consume and listen to shows and what they're listening to and what they're not. I think some people thought that this was going to be a death knell for podcasting. It definitely isn't and won't be. And actually, I think could end up being good for certain people who require this type of stuff. So I'm keen to see how this continues to roll out around this year, next year, into the future. Who knows? App pre-orders exist for the first time on the iOS App Store with a bunch of games that were popping up, and it seems like this is something that some indie developers, as we hoped, are starting to integrate into their launch plans. So this is great to see. I think that we're all, as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, very keen about this. And then I'll run through this one. Apple acquires Shazam. We'll wait and see on that one. And then two stories that broke over our holiday break. There was a Mark Bloomberg rumor. Mark Bloomberg, that's what I call him now. Mark Bloomberg over at German Tech. He had a rumor about Apple, apparently, WWDC, maybe this year, will announce that iOS apps can run on the Mac. This looks like a very interesting thing. I think we should just point people to Under the Radar. There's a great episode of Under the Radar about this where Marco and David, who are very well-versed on this stuff, sit down and talk about it. I will say personally, I'm excited about this because being able to run some iPad apps on my Mac where I don't have a Mac component app that goes along with them, I think could be great. And if there is a potential for the inverse, which I'm not sure about really, where maybe you never know, some Mac apps could come to the iPad because of this. We don't know yet. There's a lot to unpack, and I think this will happen. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm interested. I don't know if it will be this year, but I think this will happen eventually.
Yeah, I just imagined a blog post that was literally just a list of questions I have, and that's still how I feel. There's just a lot of questions here, and I was pretty pessimistic about it initially, and then that Under the Radar episode, which again there's a link in the show notes, really changed my thinking on it. Honestly, and I wrote a post about that as well. That the argument they laid out from the iOS side of things was really concise, and I'm cautiously optimistic now about what this could mean, but we just don't know. There's just not enough information in that Gurman report. And we're just going to need to see where it goes. My guess is if this is coming at WWDC, as he said, could be possible, that we will start hearing more about this in the lead up to it. Or, other things will start moving around that seem like something is coming. So I think we need to keep an eye out for App Store changes or policy changes that could point to something else happening here.
Yeah. Well, when I saw the rumor a few days ago on Twitter, of course, the first reaction by many people was to post screenshots of iPhone apps running on a Mac, and I don't think that's what's happening at all. I don't think this is a way to get you to use iOS apps on the Mac. I think we're going to see it's more about a new UI framework that lets you write a single application that can be run on iOS, on the iPhone, on the iPad, and on the Mac. It's a new UI framework, or it could be a bridge from UIKit to AppKit, sort of like what's it called, UXKit that Apple is now using with Photos on the Mac. But I could see this new UI framework that is consistent and that it's adaptive to the platform that it runs on, and that it's 64-bit only, maybe Swift only, I don't know, but it could definitely be 64-bit only. There's a requirement for macOS apps on the Mac App Store to be 64-bit only next year. In 2018, just in a few months. And I could see how there could be an option for developers to have actual universal iOS and macOS apps, or maybe just write a macOS app with a new framework and keep selling it on the Mac App Store. So I would be surprised if we will get the requirement that now every single Mac app on the App Store needs to be an iOS app first. I think we're going to see this new shared UI framework, which in theory should help developers be more consistent in the feature set that they use use, but I want to see how Apple themselves they're going to use this. If this is true, does it mean we're going to get more feature parity between macOS and iOS apps? Is this a thing that is going to happen massively for every single built-in iOS application in 2018? We don't know. So it should be a fun WWDC, I think.
All right, and for our last story of the year, which is one I'm sure you're all very familiar with by now, which is the Apple battery throttling thing. So for a little bit of background, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, right? There were Geekbench test results with a bunch of stories that came out around it about the fact that it looked like Apple were throttling the CPUs of some phones as they were getting older. Then Apple confirmed in some statements to some press that it was part of a software update that they did for battery health. And then this set off a tidal wave of stories of people saying that their greatest fears were confirmed, that Apple were throttling phones, like a thing that we've all been having to deal with for years, saying that, no, Apple don't do that, Apple don't do that. Well, it turned out that they did. For whatever reasons, they admitted to doing it. People started freaking out. Then Apple wrote this huge open letter. They apologized for their lack of communication on the issue. They went into quite a lot of detail about why they do this and what the benefits are. And then they have said that there's going to be an upcoming release of iOS, which will include more information to the user, which is exactly what we want, and will alert users if their device's performance has been degraded because of battery health. And then from now on throughout 2018, you can get a battery replacement for your 6, 6S, SE, or 7 for just $29. So these prices are being reduced kind of across the world, and they're knocking around $50 off of the original price. So this was a pretty huge story. I mean, it's not very normal for a story like this to happen right at the tail end of the year, but we got one. Apple, I think, did the right job. They did the right thing in addressing it and saying that their communication was bad, because this was a bad look for them. This is something that nobody wanted to see. The fact that your phones are getting slower by a software update, nobody wanted to see that. And I'm happy to see that Apple have addressed it, and they've got a good battery replacement program in place right now. But we're going to have to wait and see. I don't think this is going to be the last that we hear about this story, but it is the last one that we're going to talk about on this special wrap-up episode. So that was 2017. Like every year, there's a bunch of stuff where we can look back and laugh at ourselves. And there's been some interesting trends throughout the year. I think it's been a good year mostly, especially since June. I've been very happy with most of the stuff that's happened since then. Apple just had a really bad December though, right? Like just a poopy December, like just not a good one for them. Which is a shame. So I hope that trend doesn't continue into this year, and through the rest of the year. Let's just say they just had a lot of bad luck in December. We'll, of course, be back next time as we will be doing our predictions for the year, which I'm already really concerned about. I don't feel like I have any good ones, so Apple Pencil 2, we're gonna keep pushing on that. Who knows? If you want to catch our show notes for this week, there's a great place that you can go and do that. It's over at relay.fm/connected/174. Federico is at Viticci, Viticci on Twitter, and he is over at macstories.net. Stephen is at ISMH, and he's at 512pixels.net. I am at iMyke, IMYKE, and we'll be back next time. Until then, say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
Adios.